says, "This is my commandment, that you love one another as I have loved you." This means all questions of sexual morality come down to one very simple question. Does this behavior image God's free, total, faithful, fruitful love? Or does it miss the mark? Let me ask you all a question. And whether you're married or not, you can answer these questions. Maybe one day you hope to be married. You can answer in light of that. Sister and father, you also took vows, so you can answer in light of that. How many of you want to be faithful to your wedding vows? Can I see a show of hands? Is that everybody? Okay. Even if it hurts, do you still want to be faithful to your wedding vows? Even if it demands tremendous, even gut-wrenching sacrifice, do you still want to be faithful to your wedding vows? Or are you sure? Am I imposing this on you? No. You want it? Of your own free will? Okay. You have just accepted everything the Catholic Church teaches about sex of your own free will. I didn't impose it on you. You said you wanted it. Because this is exactly what is at stake. Remember what we learned in the last session? Sexual intercourse is meant to be a renewal of wedding vows. Spoken not with words, but spoken with the language of the body. Now, it's a very wonderful thing if on a special anniversary, husband and wife go back to the church and renew their vows. That's great. But that shouldn't undermine the fact that every time a husband and a wife engage in that union, in becoming one flesh, they're meant to be speaking and renewing their wedding vows with the language of their bodies. How healthy would a marriage be if a husband and a wife were regularly unfaithful to their wedding vows? How many say, yeah, that's the kind of marriage I'd like to have? On the other hand, how healthy would a marriage be if a husband and a wife regularly renewed their wedding vows, and every time they did, they were more committed to them on that day than they were the day before? How many say that's the kind of marriage I'd like to have? You have just accepted everything the Catholic Church teaches about sex, and I didn't shove it down your throat. You said you wanted it. Our bodies speak. They proclaim a great mystery. I've been up here teaching not just with my words, but my body's been doing all this crazy stuff, and that too is speaking. Tell me what I'm saying. Hello or goodbye. Tell me what this is. Shock or surprise. Tell me what this is. You don't? Oh, come on, that's an easy one. Our bodies speak. And we also know that actions speak louder than words. If you walked into my family room and saw me sitting here like this, and you said, "Christopher, how you doing?" And I said, "Great." What are you going to believe, my words or my body? We can say one thing with our words and contradict it entirely with our bodies. What does sexual union look like when it corresponds to the words of the wedding vows? That's what we're after. 1b, we can speak of moral good and evil in the sexual relationship based on whether the couple gives to their union the character of a truthful sign. Is this a true sign of God's love, or is it not? Let's do the math. And don't be afraid to admit if you are guilty of every single sin I'm about to talk about. God's mercy has been given, and we must trust in that mercy. There is only one sin we should be afraid of. Only one. The refusal to admit sin. Because the refusal to admit sin is the only unforgivable sin. Jesus called it the blaspheming of the Holy Spirit. When we blaspheme the Holy Spirit, we're saying, I haven't sinned and I don't need the Holy Spirit to forgive me of sin because I haven't sinned. Don't be afraid to admit a million sins. Be only afraid of rationalizing sin. Everybody with me here? Let's trust in God's mercy. He's not against us. He wants to save us. So let's just do the math. Does an act of masturbation image God's free, total, faithful, fruitful love, or does it miss the mark? It misses the mark. If you struggle with this, I'm not here to condemn you. I'm here to proclaim a truth that can set us all free. Does premarital sex image God's free, total, faithful, fruitful love, or does it miss the mark? If anybody here struggles with this, believe me, I'm not here to condemn you. I'm here to proclaim a truth that can set us free. Does homosexual activity image God's free, total, faithful, fruitful love, or does it not? If anybody here struggles with this, any viewer struggles with this, I'm not here to condemn anybody. I am here to proclaim the full truth of our humanity that can set us free. Go down the list. You're eventually going to get to this one. And this is the big bugaboo. This is the big bone of contention in the church over the last 40, 50 years. Be not afraid of the demands of love. Be not afraid to admit 1,000,000 times we've failed. Be only afraid of rationalizing. Does an intentionally sterilized act of intercourse, even between spouses, does this image God's free, total, faithful, fruitful love, or does it miss the mark? If the church's teaching on contraception is here and our hearts are over here, maybe the problem is not with the teaching of the church. Maybe the problem is our hardness of heart. If today you hear His voice, harden not your hearts.